Hi, I'm Mike Nelson with Thoughts from the Driver's Seat. Today we're going to talk about several different issues, all having to do with the disruption being created by companies like Tesla. Let me start off with first, Tesla sells cars directly to consumers. That's unusual. If you buy a GM or a Ford, you're buying it at a dealership, which is in essence a middleman. And you're buying a car not from General Motors or Ford, and you have no contract with those companies. Tesla, you have a contract with. And in that contract is language about disputes. And unless you know enough to check the box that says, I do not want to go to arbitration if we have a dispute, you're going to arbitration, which means you're not going to court and you do not have an appeal right. You're simply going in a private tribunal or hearing where Tesla never has to account to the public for what goes on there. So let's talk about some of the other aspects of disruption that all fold together behind this. In this car, there's a camera that's pointed at my face. It's there primarily to sense whether or not I'm paying attention to the road. I've noticed when I've glanced away, the car will tell me, pay attention. It never used to do that. The only thing that mattered was holding the steering wheel. Now, the camera sensing your eyes looking down the road is important. This camera is capturing data which Tesla says it won't associate with your VIN. In other words, they don't know whose video that is unless you give Tesla permission. Another thing that's in the fine print of your contract. Everybody's giving permission because they don't know enough to not select it otherwise. So let's talk about the cameras, because the cameras on the outside are important for another part of this segment we're going to get into, which is data privacy. So on the exterior of this car are several cameras, and we'll start off with the camera that's in the very front right here. This is looking down the road, and it's helping the car decide whether or not it's staying inside the lines. There's also a main camera right here. That too is looking down the road and helping the car decide whether or not it's centered in the lanes. Also, as to whether or not traffic in front of the car has slowed down. But there's also other cameras that have other jobs. This camera right here points backwards, and it's looking at a 45-degree angle to make sure that the lane is clear if you're going to make a lane change. In a similar way, there's a camera here, and it's pointing this way for the same reason. And lastly, there's one camera back here that's hidden under the deck lid, and that's to see approaching traffic so the car can make decisions like, I should get out of the way of a faster moving car. I want to point out one other aspect of the sensing devices on the car, and that's these dots that people think are cameras. They're ultrasonic sensors. They're emitting sound, they're collecting sound. They'll tell you how close you are to surrounding objects, but it's not helping you drive. But they're all around the car. Back at the data privacy issue. So these cars are collecting video and they're collecting data. And it recently came to light in a Reuters article, if the article's true, and no one suggested it's not, that Tesla employees back in headquarters are receiving these videos as they're projected from the car to the Tesla cloud. And with videos, they were catching some very unusual information. So let me give you an example. There was allegedly some gentleman who went out to his garage where his car was charging at nighttime, probably forgot something, and he was naked. So those videos of this naked man walking around the car obviously captured some of the attention of employees at Tesla. And these employees were passing around information like that among themselves. That led to a lawsuit. The lawsuit was brought in court, and Tesla asked the court to remove it to arbitration. Apparently the owner of that car that brought the lawsuit had not checked the box. So, Tesla wants to take something about data privacy and move that into arbitration instead of court. The irony here is that the lawsuit is about data privacy, which is now going to be litigated somewhere where Tesla gets the benefit of a private hearing. That contract that has an arbitration provision in it wouldn't mean anything if you bought the car from a Tesla dealership, not Tesla. But since you're buying it from Tesla, the contract has more strength. So, if you have a dispute with Tesla about how the car is driving, maybe it got into an accident when it was an autopilot and it shouldn't have, and you want to make a lawsuit about that, well, okay, that probably belongs in court, or Tesla's going to remove to arbitration. But there's a entirely different concept of litigating whether or not the car malfunctioned versus employees at Tesla's headquarters capturing video, or seeing video that's captured by this car, very much like a Ring doorbell does. I'm sure nobody really expected to assign the rights to a dispute about privacy to arbitration when they first entered into their sales contract. They probably didn't appreciate the capabilities of the car. There's a lot of cans of worms being opened up by the whole Tesla dynamic in the marketplace. One, of course, they're electric cars. Two, of course, they're doing some of the driving. Three, they're getting over-the-air updates. Four, these cars are sensing when people are paying attention going down the road. Five, the data that's being captured by Tesla, the car, is being beamed to Tesla, the cloud, where Tesla employees can look at it. And then we have this disruption to the legal system where disputes about data privacy are now going to be arbitrated because you signed a contract that says, if I have any reason to sue you, I'm going to be required to bring that lawsuit in a private form that nobody gets to hear about. There's a lot of disruption with all of this, and I'm calling those cans of worms. And I'm sure you can appreciate all those cans of worms do come together in one main point. But it's certainly going to lead to other cans of worms that are going to get opened up in the future. And we'll see you there on the road ahead. Zoom, zoom.